The snow fell in heavy, deliberate waves, muffling the world in a smothering quilt of white. Jenna watched from her picture window, her breath fogging the cold pane as the neighborhood seemed to dissolve into an eerie silence. She had always loved Christmas Eve for its magic, but tonight felt different, a little darker, a little wrong. Across the street, a single red Christmas bulb flickered erratically on the Bailey's porch, casting strange, uneven shadows against their home. Rows of houses, normally festive with lights and plastic reindeer, had gone dark early, as if the entire neighborhood was holding its breath. The only sound was the faint, persistent creak of something swinging in the distance. It wasn't the wind, though. There was no wind. An hour later, Jenna's unease deepened when she received a knock at the door. Not the friendly, hurried knock of carolers or neighbors dropping by, but slow, deliberate. She hesitated, peering through the peephole, but there was nothing. Just an empty porch blanketed with untouched snow. No footprints, no signs of life. The knock came again, three loud, almost mechanical raps this time, and her stomach turned. She cracked the door open an inch, and the cold rushed in like a warning. On the doorstep lay a small wooden box, crudely wrapped in aged twine. Against her better judgment, she picked it up. Its weight and chill seemed out of proportion, its contents shifting subtly. Inside, she found a single note scrawled in jagged red ink, "Naughty." At once, the flickering light from the Bailey's porch went dark, and the house across the street disappeared into complete blackness. She tried to call her husband, who was working the late shift at the hospital, but the phone was dead. Even her cell had no service, a strange void in an otherwise suburban area. Jenna locked all the doors, her pulse racing. The constant creaking sound grew louder, sharper, and seemed to circle her house. Upstairs, something shifted, a muffled thud and the faint sound of bells. Her son Tyler was asleep in his room, and she rushed upstairs, her bare feet silent against the carpet. His room was empty. The window, slightly ajar, let in a freezing draft that carried with it the faint smell of pine and something metallic. A shadow moved outside, a hulking figure that didn't belong to any man she'd ever seen. It stood at the edge of the yard, its figure barely discernible in the swirling snow. Then it raised an arm, pointing straight at Jenna's window. When she turned, her son was back in his bed, curled up as if he'd never been gone. But his room felt colder, darker, wrong. She leaned down to wake him, whispering his name, but he didn't stir. That was when she saw the same note on his nightstand, the blackened edges of the paper curling as if burned. Naughty. Her legs wouldn't move, her breath caught in her throat as the faint sound of bells returned, closer now inside the house. She could smell it again, the metallic tang, the rot masked by winter's crisp bite. The creaking noise reached the stairs, deliberate and heavy. In her growing panic, all she could do was glance out of the window one last time. The figure was gone, but in its place, fresh marks streaked the snow. Not the deep indentations of boots, but long, jagged grooves, like the chaotic tracks of something being dragged away.